we're going to be going over baptisms. So what it is. Okay, first off, you need to understand that God moved upon the waters. And when he moved upon the waters, he said, let there be light. So imagine the son being born from the mother. Okay? So I'm not gonna lose you here. In the waters, or the light is actually the woman, and the word is actually that regards it. But what you need to focus on is the Father moves upon the waters, Holy Spirit wisdom says, let there be light. And there's light. Saw that it was good. Okay, so consider that the first baptism, the birth. Okay? So when we come out of the mother, we as men go before, well, that's what the baptism represents, that you're reborn to heaven's mother, and that you're not under your earthly mother. And you never negate your earthly mother, you just go to your heavenly mother. Now, it's known to the men as a truth, submerging, a sinking. So what it is when we're in the ocean, we ride on the ships made by men's hands. In the Proverbs, it states many times, you're drunk, or in Solomon and in Ben Sirah, and in some others it talks about being a ship upon the seas, carried about by the winds and the waves. Well, an adulterer will climb that mast and be drunken off the blood of idolatry, and he'll be cut in half, and his kids will be orphaned, but he'll say he is not even hurt, he's not even stricken, because and when will they do it to me again? And so he loves how he loses, not at all. So what it does is it breaks our heart, and then we sink to the bottom of the sea, and that's where you are like Moses. You split the sea, you go down to the bottom, you go low. You're, as told Abraham, your seed shall be as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand upon the seashore. So when you see the reborn, they have a foot on the sea and a foot on the land. Well, the mothers are the sea. The men are like the air. And in order to go forth and have dominion, you have to keep your image of God, which no man does, except for, Jesus Christ and very few others, like Daniel, castrated, Meshach, Abednego, castrated, Joseph, thrown down a well, thrown into prison. So there's some exceptions, and then Jeremiah, Samuel. So there are some exceptions where they don't necessarily go against the law of the mothers, which is the first law, the principle, that's you baptize. Unless a man be born from water and of spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. Well, the water is your mother. And if you don't count your mother as heavenly water that rained down in Noah's day, then you're in the same sin as Noah. So water represents Noah's washing away, is why we do it. That God has washed the world clean by heaven. The daughters are the water. They're at the heart of the earth, and they come to and it rains from the heavens. So it's at the heart and from heavens. That's the heart. That's the mothers. And so when the eunuch asked one of the apostles if he could get baptized, he says, what's hindering me from believing in Jesus or being saved? And he says, nothing. And so he's baptized him at the river. But what they don't understand is the eunuch understood what it meant to cover the women, because he's eunuch, so he's going to be around the women, he's going to be schooling them and all that. That's how they used to educate the very rich back in the day, is they would castrate the teachers and have them teach their harem, their women, their wives and concubines, and then the wives and concubines would teach the king. So next time you're listening to a woman read or talk, you should give thanks to God, because that only used to be for kings. And new AI, the music stuff, lets us make music for God too, and that used to take a lot of effort. So if you pay attention, the Stones are serving you. and God is still giving the gospel to the poor. So, but I mean, the mothers always have read and taught because they're the teachers. The two wisest men in the world are Jesus Christ and Solomon, correct? Of course. And so when you compare these two, what you find in common is they were both raised and taught by their mothers who were not educated. So they just did mother. And Moses, too, taught by his mother, and so forth and so on. But he did have education. Anyways, point being, the baptism. It's a washing away, okay? You have to understand it's a sinking. So it's not for women. Now, women get baptized. But I know nowadays there's a lot of women baptizing, and the reason is because, well, there's not very many men, and the men are the cover. So the man sanctifies the house, okay? If you're wondering about child baptism, woman baptism, all that, it's the head of the house. God is not going past the head of the house. I don't know where that began or who taught y'all that, but it doesn't work like that with God. If you notice in the scriptures, Jesus doesn't really talk to the women until they talk to the disciples, or until they break through a crowd and have to touch other people, talk to other people. And so the reason is because we get the command, which is Jesus, and then man gets the woman. So that's why God doesn't tell her what the issue of her chastisement is. He just gives her the chastisement. Notice the prophecy goes to the serpent. That's the man that will connive and work all evils to become the serpent, unreborn, because you've done this. Well, notice he gets a prophecy, and then Eve just gets her chastisement, and then Adam gets school, dust to dust, an option pretty much, and told what it is. Well, the woman is the price of the pearl. So the baptism is a symbol of death. We have 3 death covenants in the Christian faith. We have the circumcision at birth, which will later come in heart. But your mother usually does this, as Zipporah did Moses' son. And it's the mother's option because the son belongs to the mother for 30 years. That's the first law, the first principle. And so circumcision, which means on the 8th day you have to be to your living God Israel, and you have to offer your lifeblood like your mother does on the inside of the house. You have to do at the doorpost at the city gates. And this is the covenant of all nations, to cover all nations, to cover the daughter. It's the business of the father, and then to secure her liberty and secure her authority over the children, which God has confirmed, right? And the honor of the father is over the house. And if the father does not establish the children's house, he will root out the foundations by cursing the mother. And you can't curse the mother. She's blessed, finished work, Sabbath from heaven. And so that's why he makes us raise our hand to receive them. That's why he gives the daughter. And so when we realize we drop that, when we realize we insulted the mothers, it breaks our heart and we sink. And we go straight to the bottom of the ocean. We become the sand. And then we get washed out on shore. So we're reborn. So it's like a celestial shore we're washed on, right? You also see this at Peter's 153 fish in John 21, where he casts the net on the right side. And then 153 of Elijah's is the right hand. It's the mark of the beast. 666 is the gold that Solomon received. Only 666 in the Bible other than Revelation's reference. And anyways, the point is that the women are the gold, and that the money changers will change it out. And so when we get baptized, we get sunk by God. He beats us intellectually. He breaks our heart. And a broken heart the Lord shall not refuse. Now the women are handmade. The man is born. The women are handmade. Notice that through all the Bible. And thus the man is the one that has not been offering the blood, dying for it. And that's what baptism is. And that's a death vow too, that you come up a dead man, that you'll only live for the truth, that you'll stop lying to yourself. It's like being Jacob become Israel. And then the other is the Lord's Supper. So that's 3: baptism, circumcision, Lord's Supper. We eat his flesh, drink his blood, means that we give our body and we give our blood, holding on to the truth. So hopefully that helps y'all with baptism.